Thor: Love and Thunder. Uh, yeah, it's definitely one of my most anticipated movies of Phase Four, and one of my biggest disappointments. I'll try to say some of the positive stuff first. I thought Jane Foster's character was really cool. I thought her whole arc was solid. Like out of all the characters in the movie, I think hers was definitely like the most like the one I was kind of drawn to the most. The fact that she had cancer, and then the Mjolnir kind of called to her because she was pure of heart, and then having Mjolnir kind of gave her, obviously turned her into like Lady Thor, and then kind of empowered her in a way. And then every time she transferred back into Jane Foster, she becomes sicker and sicker. I think if Taika Waititi kind of drew on that aspect of the movie, kind of made it more dramatic instead of kind of making it like Ragnarok 2.0, but still not as good as Ragnarok, just because Ragnarok is my favorite Thor movie, and I think a lot of people's favorite Thor movie. And I think having that tone kind of replicated in Thor: Love and Thunder was kind of a mistake. It seemed like kind of Taika Waititi kind of just didn't watch Infinity War or Endgame or anything, and he kind of just like, I'm just going to take the Thor from Ragnarok and just kind of transplant him back into Love and Thunder. It's like Infinity War Endgame, that didn't happen. I'm just going to bring it back. So yeah, I thought that was kind of annoying, but I because I don't mind Thor being funny. I loved him in Ragnarok, obviously, and then in Endgame when he was like Fat Thor, I thought that was really fun. I know some people didn't like it, but this is my opinion. He had an arc at the end of Endgame, where he had to take on that responsibility. He was still loose and fun and everything, but he changed in a way. He battled Thanos. He saw the loss of his people. He had to kind of pass on the mantle to Valkyrie in a way, and kind of find out who he was rather than who people expect him to be, as he said in the movie. He had an arc, and to not really acknowledge what came before it, I think was a really big mistake. And the fact that kind of like I was saying earlier, is that there just doesn't really feel like there's kind of like connective tissue between phases 3 and 4. In some aspects, it just seems like they're just kind of starting over in a way, which I know they're trying to get a fresh start, but I mean, to not really, some of the films and some of the TV projects not acknowledge what happened before. At least like the dramatic arcs of all these characters, I think is like a really big mistake. So I guess, yeah, just some good aspects of the movie. Yeah, Jane Foster's great. I thought Christian Bale's character as Gore the God Butcher was fine. And I think also there was like deleted scenes of him, butchering all the gods and everything like that, for his arc. I think his character was like really relatable. I think if they just played into that, it's like Taika Waititi. I love Taika Waititi. I love all of his movies. There's just a couple I haven't seen, but like What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Wilder People, Jojo Rabbit. He's really good at balancing like comedy and drama, and I feel like in this movie, the comedy outweighed the drama. There was definitely drama there with Jane Foster's character, and with Gore the God Butcher, losing his daughter and everything at the beginning. But I feel like that the comedy definitely outweighed the drama, where they just kind of make Thor like an idiot. And he doesn't really learn from his mistakes. They kind of regressed his character from how he was in Infinity War and Endgame, and then just kind of made him stupid. uh, but yeah, but other than that, I guess those were kind of like, yeah, my criticism of the movie. I think would have been really cool is that if this was actually Thor's last film, like if they kind of did like pull the Logan with Hugh Jackman, where they kill off his character and everything, and have this kind of be Thor's end, and then him kind of passing on the mantle to Valkyrie to be like the new, not necessarily the new Thor, but like the new official leader of Asgard, which was kind of what he did at the end of Endgame, but they kind of reversed that a little bit. But oh well. But yeah, I think if he were to like, or if he were to like sacrifice himself for Jane Foster, where I don't know, there's some kind of magic that he has to channel through himself into Jane to kind of help her, free her of the cancer and, become Lady Thor officially. But doing so, he would have to sacrifice his own life. I think that would have been really cool for his character, just kind of end his storyline. But yeah, it just seems like, I don't know, by the end of the movie, it just seemed like, like what's the point, really. Like now he's a dad, or I guess Uncle Thor. Then he's gonna battle like Hercules or something. It just seems like, what was the big thing that kind of shook up the Marvel Cinematic Universe within this movie? Kind of like, again, like what I was saying before, was that it just seems like they're just throwing these storylines in there, and then everything's kind of self-contained and doesn't really continue on into Phase Five. And obviously, at this point of this recording, like I haven't seen Phase Five and Six, so I don't know if they'll ever address these issues, but yeah, it just seems like they're just having all these, they're just introducing all these characters and introducing all these concepts, and nothing's really connecting, so to speak. And it does get kind of frustrating where I don't think it's Marvel's fault. I think it's like Disney imposing their will onto Marvel to kind of crank out all these different movies and shows. It's more like quantity over quality. Like I'm sure like Kevin Feige is really wanting to set up these different characters properly and have their time to shine in Marvel Cinematic Universe, at their proper time and everything. Yeah, but it just seems like Disney's really trying to push. We got to have our $2.7 billion franchise. We have to have our next Endgame, instead of taking their time. Because Phase One was like what, from 2008 to 2012. That was like 4 years to build up from all these individual movies to the Avengers. But with from the end of Endgame to the end of Secret Wars, like what, that's 2019 to 2025, I think, is when Secret Wars was supposed to be released. So that's like the whole time it took from to get from Iron Man to Endgame, it was like 11 years, and they're kind of chopping that in half to get to their next $2.7 billion movie. So yeah, so it's kind of frustrating in a way. That's really just more about, it's all about the moolah instead of about making some quality products or some quality films. But I don't know. I don't work in Disney, so I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But yeah, uh, I guess they're doing something right in their own eyes. So who am I to say? But yeah, other than that, that's kind of all my ideas on Thor. I thought it was a little bit of a letdown. I really wanted to like it. I love Jane Foster's character, don't get me wrong, and I thought Christian Bale's portrayal of Gore was fine. But other than that, Thor was just kind of dumb, kind of regressed. I don't really feel like he learned anything. Even by the end, where he's like talking with Gore's daughter, I feel like he was just kind of back to, oh, hey, I'm fun dad Thor. I'm gonna make some pancakes for you. Let's go fight some villains and stuff. It's like it's like he didn't really even feel the impact of like the loss of Jane. Like he wasn't even like lamenting her really. But anyway, sorry, this is getting too long, so I'll move on to the next one.